Well, good day, viewers. Today we have a 12 Ram 1500 4x4. It's got the V6. It's here because the money light's on. Apparently yesterday it went into limp mode and it wasn't drivable or very reduced power. It was dropped off by a tow truck last night. So we're going to scan it and see what kind of codes it has to suggest is at miss. Now it's got 230,728 kilometers. So I stand corrected, it's actually a 13, I believe. A D is a 83 or a 13. We had put a used engine in this several months ago, and the used engine had cam timing error codes. And we did a timing chain, guides, phasers, coolant bypass valve control, lost communication with TCM, lost brake torque message, lost brake switch message, lost vehicle speed message, implausible missing transmission message, fuel pump control circuit open, lost communication with seatbelt sensor, AC control circuit open. Geez, what code doesn't it have? Sensor voltage 2 circuit high, accelerator position sensor circuit low, electric vacuum pump circuit, engine coolant bypass control circuit high, coolant bypass valve position sensor circuit low. Oh my gosh. Well, the good thing is there's no P001516 codes. Now, looking at this thing, I see that the oil cooler assembly has been replaced again. So somebody's had this engine apart again since me. I see this hose is not tight. A bunch of plastic clips, wiring harnesses. Well, we're going to clear all the codes out of it and see what comes back, because I don't know which code set first or last. Actually, we're going to go into codes menu. Where's freeze frame data? Must be under generic functions. Generic functions. Freeze frame data, that'll be the last code that's set. It's an OBD2 mandate since '96 to store freeze frame data for the last emission related fault code that's set or changed. So the last code is lost communication with the transmission control module. Well, that would definitely put it in limp mode. It was an open loop. Control module voltage was 14 volts. Time since start was like 0 seconds. That's interesting. Coolant temperature was 105 Celsius, so it was at operating temperature. Calculated load 43%. Vehicle speed 71 kilometers. How could it be 0 seconds and 71 kilometers? 0 to 71 kilometers in 0 seconds. Time since engine start, 0 seconds. Open loop. What is the speed of the engine? Engine speed 0. So something's bogus about this freeze frame data. Vehicle speed is 71 kilometers an hour, yet the engine speed is at 0? I don't think so. So that's not much help. We're going to clear all the codes out of it. Now I got to do that key on, engine off. So I'll turn the key off and back on again. Actually, I didn't check to see what codes were in the other controllers. I looked at the engine control computer. I got carried away with all the codes that were there. So before we clear the codes, let's look at this report again. May 7th, 24, view. just in case of some other hint about loss of communication. Come on, you can load. Now I loaded it twice. So, no issues found in the airbag, door module, drivetrain control module, electronic shifter module, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, instrument panel, and clusters. So no other codes, but, oh, I see. My mistake, I'm misreading this. So we have a bunch of ugly codes. Torque request signal to TCM denied, pending, stored, transmission inhibited, remote start stored. Torque request signal, left high beam control circuits, probably got modified headlights. Lost communication with camera, lost communication with master power window, ECU reset recovery, invalid TPM sensor system deactivated. And okay, well, let's go back to the diagnostic suite here and clear all the codes out of everything, because there's just too much to choose from. And then we're gonna have a visual inspection of the stuff that was disturbed under the hood, and then go for a road test. See if we can get it tacked up. I'm sure we will. Cleared codes from 16 controllers. Let's do another code scan just to see if anything came back. Oh, that's interesting. Sensor reference voltage circuit 2 high, engine coolant bypass valve position sensor circuit low. That's that stupid little coolant bypass valve on the right frame rail. I think I changed that, or changed something on it. Well, these codes have definitely put it in a limp mode. And then the anti-lock brakes is complaining about, okay, so we got some direction. Accelerator pedal position circuit low. And reference voltage low. Let's go back in the engine control computer. One of the 5-volt references might be pulled to ground or something. Let's see, data. Throttle data. APP2 voltage is 0.215. That seems low. Normally it doesn't go lower than 0.25. TPS1 voltage is 0.8. TPS2 voltage is 4.1. Minimum voltage is 0.4. APP1 voltage is 0.425, but APP2 voltage, let's graph these as we do a accelerator pedal sweep. Okay, stepping on the gas pedal now. Boy, that was slow to react. How come the data is so glitchy? Now, is that a diagnostic dropout or is that a real dropout? I'm going to build a custom data list because the refresh rate is so slow. Some of these accelerator pedals have a diagnostic glitch in them, but that still seems, 0.215 seems low. Let's build a custom data list and look at just those two PIDs. Deselect all, APP1, APP2, graph it. See this? Okay, these are auto-ranging graphs, so that's not a 0.215 to 0.210. Let's do a sweep now. Okay, stepping on the accelerator pedal. Full pedal. Yeah, I believe that dropout in APP2 is a diagnostic glitch. You see it happens. I'm wide open throttle and it happens rhythmically. Okay, wide open throttle again. That pedal seems low. Now I wonder if there's some other reference sensor that's sharing this APP2 voltage. Let's look at that code again. I'm going to save this data. Coolant bypass valve position. Sensor circuit high. So I wonder if we can see the status of the coolant bypass valve. Too many data lists. Be under engine maybe? Snap-on, we need a keyword search. Coolant temperature. I'm going to look around. So that's the coolant three-way valve right there, and I believe this is the position sensor on top of it. I'm pretty sure when I did some work on this a few months ago, I changed this part because it was cracked or leaking or something. But I'm wondering if that sensor shares this 5-volt reference with the accelerator pedal. If I remember correctly, this thing had an issue a long time ago, right after he first bought it, with the accelerator pedal going into limp mode. I'll have to check my records. So the codes of concern right now are the P0653 sensor reference voltage 2 circuit high, P26A6 engine coolant bypass valve position sensor circuit low, and P2127 accelerator pedal position sensor circuit low, but yet it's not low. I looked at a previous, this is the vehicle that I did work on it before, about a year ago, almost to the day. And I think I ended up fixing it by changing the oil pressure sensor on the engine oil cooler, which has been changed multiple times now. Well, I'm going to look at the relationship between the P0653 and the 2127 and the 26A6. So the way the Snap-on scanner sorts data lists, they group them into several data lists, and you can do a custom data list across the several data lists. So I've chosen coolant temperature, map inches of mercury, and voltage, looking at anything that uses a 5-volt reference. From the throttle data, APP1 and APP2, TPS1 and TPS2. From the EGR data, coolant temperature, voltage, and degrees Celsius. Map vacuum in inches of mercury and map voltage. Well, I get that one from the other list too. Some of them are repeated in more than one list. I did find the AC high pressure sensor voltage and pressure and PSI, because that uses a 5-volt reference. The coolant three-way valve actual position and desired position are in degrees, but it's converted from a voltage as well. So they don't give you the voltage reading, they just give you the calculated value. And again, APP1 and APP2 coolant temperature. Again, some of the data parameters are repeated in more than one list. Again, a map sensor. So let's graph that. I got a battery charger on it set at 13.6 volts now so that it doesn't go dead on me. APP2. Where's APP2? Right here. You can see the diagnostic glitch where it drops to 0 volts. I think it does it every 2 seconds or 5 seconds, but it appears random on the scan tool because of the refresh rate of the data. So that's not a dropout, but that seems kind of low to me, but I could be wrong. I'm going to manipulate the wiring harness and see if I can get a dropout on the scan tool. Desired 3-way valve position is at 0. Actual position is at 0, but mind you, it could be in default mode now. Now the throttle position sensor won't respond unless it's running. It might if I put it in drive. Okay, I'm going gradually to wide open throttle. Now the TPS does not respond. And I can't put it in drive unless it's running. So, or maybe because I have the door open. Step on the brake. No, can't shift it. This has got that dial shifter. So the throttle position sensors or the throttle body won't respond unless the vehicle is running. But the accelerator pedal works. Well, I'm going to do some investigating under the hood here and look around at what was done. Meanwhile, I'm going to record the data and watch for a dropout or a glitch. So I did a keyword search for the P0653 and on Identifix, and I find a case where it intermittently loses throttle control and sets P0653 for a 5-volt circuit high. And that's what I have. Voltage too high. And loses throttle control, which is what he said he went into limp mode. Now, possible causes here suggest it could be the 3-way valve. I'm going to monitor the voltage on the... Let's see what this case suggests to do. Using a compatible scan tool, check freeze frame data. Well, that was useless. Using a lab scope or digital volt ohm meter, monitor the 5-volt power on the yellow-pink wire at pin 84 of connector 2 of the powertrain control module, or at one of the 5-volt sensors. Normal operating range is between 4.8 and 5.2 volts. If it goes higher, the code will set. Component that has battery voltage duty cycle to them is the coolant 3-way valve. Try unplugging it and check the wiring harness near it for damage. Check wiring harness for damage where the yellow-pink wire could short to power. That's interesting. Let's see the coolant 3-way wiring. This is very similar to the previous problem, but it was, I got to look at the wiring diagram. So looking at the wiring diagram for this 5-volt reference to the accelerator pedal, it's this circuit here, and it doesn't show in this Mitchell diagram that it's shared by anything else. It says it goes directly to it, but it's circuit 854, K854. So if I can find the coolant control valve and see if that same circuit is listed there. I better go into the OE diagrams. Trouble is there's like 25 diagrams to look through for engine controls instead of 4 or 5. OEM diagrams. Type in coolant. Let's see if that finds a schematic with that coolant control valve. Cooling system 3.6. Curious as to whether or not that... I don't like these stupid diagrams. Powertrain control and 3-way coolant valve. 5-volt supply. Shit, that's a different circuit. That's F856, but that doesn't mean it's not internally connected in the PCM. Well, it's pin 3 on that coolant control valve, and there's power to it from this electric coolant pump control. Sensor ground. Signal is pin 4, 3 and 4. I'm going to measure the voltage on 3 and 4 at that coolant control valve because it's convenient. So I'm pinning pin 4 at this connector. There's a picture of the connector. 4 is the signal. 4 is the signal. And I've got 5 volts on it. Why would I have 5 volts on the signal wire? 3 is supposed to be the 5 volt reference. Well, that would account for it being... I'm going to plug this in. So it's the orange and yellow wire in the most right-hand connector, second row. In this case, second wire down, because the third or second spot is blank. And if I unplug the sensor, it's sitting at 0.56 volts on that wire, which I don't think is low, but it could be. It goes to 4.94 volts. And it just dawned on me, this has probably got a diagnostic resistor in it. So an open circuit sets a high voltage code. So I'm unplugging the sensor and it goes to 5 volts. Oh boy. So let's look at the code setting. Now it's 0.7 volts. Let's tap on this sensor. It's 0.65 now. It was 0.4 before. And all I did was unplug it a couple of times. Let's see if the code goes to history now, because I don't think 0.63 is out of range. We're going to look at the code setting criteria for that code. So I'm going to clear the code. Are you sure? We got nothing unplugged right now. Let's scan it for codes again. P26 circuit low, 26A6. Let's look at if troubleshooter's got it in here for it. Troubleshooter, engine, code tips, P26. No, I got to look it up in the information. So here's the possible causes: three-way valve, sensor, signal, circuit. I want to see the code setting criteria, but it doesn't tell you that. Just says, is the code active? Yes, go to 2. Disconnect the coolant three-way valve, harness, turn the ignition on, scan for DTCs. Should set the code high code. Well, let's try that. I'm going to unplug the sensor. Unplugging. Now, theoretically, that goes to 5 volts now, so it should set the opposite code. Let's look for the code. Oops, I went too far. All right, so based on that, the wiring's good. It's going to tell me to change the sensor. But I'd like to know what voltage set as active or pending with the harness unplugged, verify the good pin to terminal contact, perform powertrain verification, replace the three-way valve. But what is the criteria for setting the code? I'm going to read some more documentation. So that valve was replaced in March of last year, so about 14 months ago. And because it shares the 5-volt reference with the accelerator pedal, it could potentially short and pull up the 5-volt reference or pull down the 5-volt reference and put it in limp mode. So I'm going to leave it unplugged. I've got another one coming. Dealer is a week away and nearly $700. This one was an aftermarket Gates one that I put on in March of last year, and it's half the price, but half the quality too, probably. It was changed because it was cracked and leaking from my recollection when I did did some engine work on it. We put a used engine in this vehicle. I forgot about the pull-up resistor in the position sensor circuits and pressure sensor circuits, so that kind of led me astray. And the numbering sequences on these ECM connectors are confusing at best, and it's very hard to see the pin numbers. So I'm going to leave this disconnected and take it for a road test with it unplugged. I'm not sure what effect that has on, that's for the heater anyways. Yeah, I think that bypasses the heater when it's cold or when the AC's on. It's just over-engineered for no reason, to be totally honest with you. I'm going to tape up the harness, put the connectors back together. Oh, look, we got a helper here. What are you doing in there? Get out of there, monster. So with that coolant bypass valve disconnected, it sets an open circuit code for the control side of the valve and the position sensor high voltage code, again because it has that diagnostic resistor in the PCM that I forgot about. What a waste of time. No more high voltage code on the 5-volt reference, but I didn't have that when I had the sensor plugged in either. So it could be intermittently shorting the 5 volts or shorting the 5-volt reference to the power feed wire internally. I'm going to take that sensor apart when I get it, a new one, but I'm going to go for a road test with it unplugged. I don't think it'll affect performance at all. I think it's just for heater controls. And see how it runs. Well, I just got back from about a 15-kilometer road test. Truck runs good. Check engine light is on because of that three-way valve being disconnected. It doesn't appear to affect drivability at all. But if it shorts out the 5-volt reference, it takes down APP2 and potentially one of the throttle position sensors too, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm leaving it disconnected. It's going to be about a week to get the new sensor or the new valve, and it's covered under a parts warranty, believe it or not.